Hey, we're Tinlicker. My name's Misha,
I'm Jordi.
and today we're gonna talk about a track called Bird Feeder, which was one of the tracks from our latest album. We're gonna go into how we create bass lines, how we process drums, a little bit of vocal production and synth production, how we layer strings, and yeah, basically how we master our craft. If we do.
This song is called Bird Feeder. Basically, we were feeding birds outside a cabin. We rented a cabin somewhere on an island in the Netherlands, and while we were producing this track, we were feeding birds as well. So that's the story behind the title.
It's part of our album, which came out last year. And we tried to finish our album on the island, like seclude ourselves to like have a different view on what we were doing in the studio and just be focusing on music for like a whole week without being interfered. Except for the birds, they kept interfering us. Anyway.
In a good way.
In a good way. So we actually recorded some of the birds. And we tend to do that, like record stuff and then put little gimmicky things in a track, which you would hardly hear, but for us it's fun, you know. So yeah, that was well, not the start. That was just added extra, but yeah, the vocal basically the song actually started with a vocal chop.
Yeah, that's this one. I think we have a lot of like vocals on our computer, like recorded from people we know, and a lot of people like sing to our tracks, and then we just cut out like one sample, change it so it sounds different, and we can. So we
don't have to pay them royalties. No, no, just kidding.
Exactly. Oh no, it's a joke, of course. This is the original vocal, and we used a little alter boy on it to manipulate the sound of it. So it's more like sounds more like a male vocal.
Yeah, you keep the same pitch, but with the format you can change the whole character of the sound. It's a great tool.
And there's a little saturation on it in the mid and a low cut. We also like layered it with another sample. It's with this one over here. It's like a whisper, and it gives it more air, literally.
Yeah, white noisy air stuff.
Yeah.
It's probably taken from Splice. We like to use Splice quite a lot. It's easy tool to find samples in the right key, or actually search for something that is not in the same key, and then you change the key so it doesn't sound the same as the original sample, which is...
Yeah.
So if we have a track in F, we a lot of times search for stuff in G or in E, so you just can pitch it up one note or pitch it down two notes, and yeah, it won't sound the same if people using it in a G tune. In a G tune. Tongue breakers.
Well, this is another vocal. It's I believe I think this is you being on the toilet.
Yeah. Freedom.
It's like we process this. So wow. We process it the same way we did as the main chop. Just a little alter bar on it to make it sounds different. And of course there's a lot of reverb on it, you can hear that. So we can turn the reverb on and off.
Yeah, and we like to use vocal samples because it gives a tune like this character that people recognize. You know, everybody likes vocals because they know vocals. You know.
It sounds like a synth stab, but it's just a vocal,
Yeah.
so it sounds more natural.
Yeah.
Last but not least, the low vocal, like we pitch down the sample just for, I don't know. So those vocals go to one group. You can see this here. We routed it to a Vox group, and we can find that one here. If we turn off all the plugins, you can hear the really dry sounds. So what we did is a simple one to filter the vocals for the intro and the outro. There's the RC20 for a little bit of distortion and reverb. I think we just bought this plugin, so we were kind of using it on a lot of stuff here. The Pro Q again for low cuts and reverb. We used an OTT as well. It makes it sound a little bit more compressed in the high end. There's a timeless on it for delay. It's a typical like
Great stereo imaging.
Yeah. And there's the glue in the end to make it sound more, it's almost 7 dB harder than.
It's probably our favorite compressor. Or
Yeah.
most used compressor.
So that's the main hook of the track. That's I think that's how we started. So after the vocal, we inserted we recorded actually the birds. So these are in there as well with the vocal chop. And then we added it's like we really like to use the atmosphere sounds. This one comes from Splice. You can see it's in the same key actually.
There goes my theory, pitching stuff.
Well, we do that.
Yeah.
But when we are lazy, we don't do it.
No, but like a lot of the time, like how you started the tune, it starts quite empty, and then it feels too empty. So we always kind of search for cool background noises or atmospheres to fill up that void. And yeah, so that you have something to start with, except for just a kick and a stab, because then it feels real empty.
Yeah. Well, it gives it more depth.
Yeah.
So this is the original sample. We just cut out a lot of low end. You can see that right here. And again, some high end. It's just for the vibe.
Yeah.
And the sample disappears when the track drops. So we knew it was an E. I think we started to make a bass line from that point.
Like our album, we still wanted some really uplifting tune with a lot of like energy and speed. So we tried to make a really fast bass line.
Yeah.
And at first, because these are like every 3/16 notes bass line, but we first added the bass line together because it has a high and a low end. Can you turn on the high end?
Yeah.
So this was actually the original bass line that we created because it has a lot of speed, but then we separated them again so you can alter them differently because you want the subby part to be constantly the same, and with the high end you want to be able to filter it differently or put more effects on it. So we did,
We fell in love, I think, with the Massive. Like before this one, we used a lot of other synthesizers, and like we rediscovered the Massive because there are a lot of sounds in this plugin. You can make it really like warm and analog. and I think we achieved that with this kind of bass. It's a simple saw wave with a lot of low end, and there's not much on it, like no EQ or reverb or delay or whatsoever. Like the only thing we wrote down is the cutoff.
Yeah, and the envelope. What's the envelope doing? Nothing.
Nothing. No, it's like it's number 4. So this is the low end, and I believe.
This is the same sound.
Yeah, but then like pitched up.
An octave up, yeah.
And with a little bit more reverb, like we. But the reverb is really cool from the massive.
And here you can see, like, this is the high end of the bass, and because we took them apart, you can turn up the volume easier instead of like using making the notes louder within the same channel. So makes it easier to like fuck around with your sound.
True. You can see here we put them into a group. Obviously we use the OTT on the bass. Makes it more edgy a little bit. This is the shaper box. It's for side chaining.
Yeah, it's a really good, probably our favorite side chaining tool.
Yeah.
It's really nice that you can draw your own curves.
Yeah, you can see we use the short kick for this one. So.
Yeah.
The simplon for like cutoffs, I think we also like cut a little bit of the low end off in the intro of the track. So when the drop comes, you just have more bass. Also reverb. But the reverb is for...
Just before the drop.
Yeah, I think we wrote that down for...
There.
Yeah. So you can see... This is the reverb. We use that one for just before the drop.
Yeah, make it real spacious, like filter out the low end, and then when it drops you can drop it really dry and it has a lot of body. Should we let it drop? No.
Well, we should.
Without the kick.
And there's another like sidechain on it. It's really heavy. That's the one over here.
So with the kick, it has quite a lot of speed because of that bass line.
Just want to show the sidechain again. It's like 100% on. So when the kick comes in, there's no sound of the bass at all.
Make room for your mix down. Yeah.
Yep. Should we get into the beats?
Yeah, sounds good.
I'm just going to solo the whole folder. Every instrument from the beat is in the beats folder, obviously, and we can just solo it or mute it. It's very handy.
Yeah, we like to organize our project afterwards, but yeah, it makes your workflow a lot easier.
Yeah.
Finding things, especially when like this, you open a project a year later and be like, oh, what is what again? And it's easy to find.
Yeah.
It's a great tool.
And like we're working with the two of us, so I
Yeah.
know what you're doing.
Yeah. I like to delete stuff, so no. But yeah, when it comes to the beats, it's really critical. I think kicks are really important. It characterizes your tune. Like if you use a really big kick, it becomes, for instance, more EDM or gabba, or it's really important to use the kicks that connect with the music that you want to make. Like if you put in an EDM kick in a house, like a deep house tune, it won't work. So yeah, I think starting your project with the right kick is very important for like to characterize your tune. And our kicks are quite heavy, but they're
short
and not really aggressive. Like they have a lot of body, but they don't sound that they're really big, but they work really well on the floor. So yeah, it's really hard to find or create those kicks that do have the impact, but don't sound like they have the impact.
Yeah, because most of our bass lines are like have different keys.
Yeah.
So you can't use like a really hard kick all the time. So it needs to be like a little bit short. And I think this one is pretty short. Obviously this is a battery 3. It's a kick from Splice. I can see that.
Everything comes from Splice. Well, we, as you can see, we tried out different kicks. Like there's Vengeance kicks in there too, but we try to use it as like the high end.
This is
kick.
Vengeance.
Yeah. To give it like that punch, a different punch, but decided in the end that the original punch of the kick was enough.
Yeah.
So we just turned them off, but they're still in there. It might look confusing, but...
And it sounds nice with the bass drum. So
yeah. So the way we mix down our tune, mainly like if you have your kick and your sub in the right volume, then it's easy to fit everything around it, because those ingredients take up the most space and are like, if you have them set in the right level, then mixing down your whole track becomes easier. So we always kind of have that bass, and if you have your sub, then we try to mix down that first, and then everything else is easier. So we always have spam on the master, so we can see what we're doing and how loud it is. So this is the kick, and if we add the sub, can you add the sub? We're always tend to be on the same kind of level. And then be like, oh, if we're around that, we know that our tune is quite loud and it has enough sub in the kick, and then then that part is settled. So that's a nice way to mix down your tune. Just start with those two ingredients.
Yeah, first listen and then just watch if it's okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just the way we have it set up. Like we know if it's around minus 30 dB, it's kind of loud enough. I'm not actually sure what the settings are. Can you just settings here next to it? This is our setting. You can alter it, but for us, this is the way we always work. So we know if it's around that minus 30 dB, it's good.
Yeah.
Of course, if you put down how fast the block size, if you turn that down or up, what is it? Yeah, you can alter your spam the way you want, but it doesn't really, as long as you know what it's doing, it works for you, So
but this is more accurate, but it's
but also more confusing because there's more information.
Yeah, you don't want that.
So yeah, we use it like this, but spam is just a great tool
and this is just
confirming what you're doing, I guess.
Yeah.
But yeah.
So these are the beats. We can just go through them. Just a simple close hi-hat, but it some EQ on it,
Yeah, with our hi-hats,
compression.
we tend to take out a lot of the low end because we think that most of that rumble that hi-hats have in the low end don't really add anything to your track. They just make your track messy, and
There's nothing here.
and you free up a lot of space for your bass and your kicks and your mid-range sounds, and this way you can get really clean mix sounds. People tend to say that our mix downs sound quite clean, and I think it has to do with the way that we EQ our drums, especially the cymbals.
Yeah, they're pretty hard.
Yeah, make space for your kick and your bass and all the other synths, and mainly they're just
It's funny because like in both like shakers and hi-hats, there's no low end, but we like. Oh, there is.
Yeah, but people tend to forget that there's quite a lot of rumble on samples, and because it says it's a hi-hat, it's only in the high frequencies, but there is quite a lot of rumble there. And some people like it, but we tend to just cut a lot off. And this way you create more room for everything else, and it's easier to make your mix downs louder too, if there's room for everything. So
yeah. This is another percussion loop we used. And again, EQing, a lot of EQing.
A lot of low end is gone.
Oh, it sounds like a techno loop or whatever.
Yeah.
But now it's all the rumble is gone. Also the Ozone 8 imager. Well,
Yeah, great.
it's hard to hear, but like in the mid-range spectrum, we opened the beat up a little bit, the percussion up a little bit to give it more like a stereo vibe. So it's
Yeah, because your kick is always in the middle, and then some of the hi-hats or percussion is nice to have more stereo imaging.
again another shaker.
Piece of hi-hat. I'm talking Dutch. Whoa. Well, as you can
This was
hear, yeah.
It was just like a shaker from a beat loop. And now like all the rumble is gone.
Yeah.
And a little bit of side chaining to make sure it doesn't it's not in the way for the kick.
Ooh, goeie piep op.
Another beat loop. EQing and, well, there's no EQing on it. But there is sidechain on it. I think this is the most important like loop of the track that gives it really like this energetic feel. It's a open hi-hat loop. Sounds a bit dirty as well.
Yeah. Yeah, because we didn't have this at first, and when the track dropped, we kind of missed the energy that we wanted. So we were searching for the right sound that gives that high-end energy. And if you can let it drop without and with,
Yeah.
it makes a really big difference. Like. So this sounds real dry, and we're like, it should have more energy because it should be like this dance floor, hands in the air kind of feel. And then if you drop it with that, it works. Yeah, it works.
The drive is much better now.
Yeah.
So maybe we can talk a little bit about the combination between kick, bass and hi-hat and how it sounds and how it looks like on the span. So we just open the span and we can see
No high end at all.
yeah, there's no high end here. You can probably see if we add a percussion, it's here. Oh, this is the shaker loop. It's more like you see the spectrum is filling it. A lot of this is percussion right here. Hi-hat,
And then,
and there is the open hi-hat.
so yeah, it's quite loud.
It is.
But you can see it's kind of like a smiley, because this space is mainly used for all the synthesizers.
Yeah, this is the. Yeah. You can see the bass line is becoming more louder because the filter is getting more open. So you can also see it's filling the gap here.
Synth.
Yeah, this is an important synth. I should solo it first.
So you can see that this synth is in the spectrum of like somewhere between 400 and 4,000. Yeah.
And now it's like every gap is filled. This is how we, you know, it definitely, you have to hear if it sounds good, but in the end, if you're not sure, you can just look at the span and just see how it looks, and the spectrum is pretty much filled right here.
Yeah, I mean, it's for us, it's a really nice tool, especially if you can hear maybe he has a little bit of a cold, so your hearing is different, and then you tend to maybe put in more highs because your nose and your ears are blocked, and if you always use a spam, you actually see what you're doing as well. So it's a good double check on not making things stand out the way they're not supposed to stand out. Because I mean, even though after a show or after flying, it affects how you hear stuff. So yeah, it's a really good tool to confirm that you're on the right track.
I think one of our most used plugins is the Monarch. It's from Native Instruments. A lot of reverb. There's a lot of stuff going on. Oh.
It's not doing anything.
Wow. It's like almost like. I think this is interesting, the replica. It's a delay plugin from Native Instruments. And we use that one over here, and it's over here as well. This is the parameter of the replica, and it gives it like this chaotic vibe to it. Like a synthesizer with ADHD.
Just like you.
And of course the cutoff, like we started with it a little bit of so you can see there are a lot of plugins on it, but like the most important ones are the replica, and well, you can hear obviously a lot of reverb, and you can see we used a send channel for this one. There it is. So what this does is this is the channel with the Valhalla room. To hear the reverb a little bit more, we added a set room. Again, it's like a little bit in the mid. Boosted it. Cut off all the low end of the reverb. And some compression. Wow, there's a lot of reverb.
Yeah.
Second
Can
synth.
you play the sound with the bass and the drums running?
Yeah.
Can you hear what the delay does? Because one of the hardest things about making music is keeping it interesting. You know, you don't want to repeat yourself constantly, and doing something like with the delay like that keeps that part really interesting. You don't really know what's going on, and then when you go back, it becomes dry again, but you want to hear the loop again because something just happened. So playing with delays in combination with reverb is a really good tool to keep your tracks interesting, and also like make it really sound big and then drop really mono again.
And there's another synthesizer.
And
That's the one you hear here. Wow, that's...
a delicious plug.
Yeah.
We like to both use like presets and create our own sounds, but sometimes someone already made something better than we could probably, or it's actually the right sound. So we do like to just browse through a lot of sounds and be like, oh, this is interesting, and then see how it's constructed, and then be like, oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's no rule of that you have to create all your own sounds. It's all about how you use them, I think. In the end, we're all making music, right, and not be the synthesizer king, or I don't know. I mean, for us, it's more about creating a nice song than it is about.
It's just vibing, having fun.
Yeah, basically.
Yeah.
Again, take out all the low ends.
Yeah.
There's
not much low end, but we did it anyway.
Yeah.
Sometimes you're just not sure if you can hear it or not. The Simplon is used actually here.
And just before the drop.
Yeah.
Nope. It's a different one.
It's not that one actually. Two
there's-
Simplons.
Oh, lost yourself.
Yeah, probably. Yeah. Yeah. So this is the parameter of the filter peak and gives it more like this.
Yeah, the resonance. Yeah. It's nice that you can hear what it's doing instead of just taking out the load and then it just disappears. But with the resonance, you accent the frequencies that are about to go, so you can really hear that something's going on.
Yeah, it's like a wah-wah. Please cut that out. Yeah, so you can see there's one folder with all the effects in it. There's not much. It's a downlifter, up filter, and another downlifter. And we can run through them.
White noise.
It's a cashmere white noise. I think we use that one a lot.
Yeah, white noise. I mean, we try not to use it too much, but it's like, it's like the back end on a drum kit. It accents the one real nicely and adds that impact.
And actually, this is funny. This is the vocal sample with a bounce with a reverb and then reversed.
Yeah, so you can get sucked into the drop.
Yeah. Wow. And then
a little bit of white noise. And a little bit of sidechain.
I think we
Or
cut
is that
out
even
a low end again.
Yeah, but there's no sidechain on it.
No.
That's strange.
And
Sounds like it.
I think that's like 3 years ago we sidechained every white noise on the drop, and now we kind of like it to not do it. And it gives us a different sound. I can just easily add a sidechain to see what happens.
Yeah.
It's a little bit different.
But here the white noise is not, it's kind of in the background compared to all the other noises. But if it's really up front and you sidechain it, you really get that.
Yeah.
I mean, it's the feel of your track becomes real different if everything is sidechained. And we try not to do it too much, just enough so there's enough room for your mix down, or the groove. But yeah. And then
we have the breakdown with 4 layers of synthesizers. Well, on the album, this is how our album starts, and this is the extended version of the bird feeder, so it's only in the breakdown of the track in the middle.
So it's easier to DJ, because no one likes melodic intro.
You did.
I know.
Years ago.
I know.
Shame on you.
It's because I come out of drum and bass.
Yeah. So the most important synthesizer in this one is the Repro 5
by UE.
It's a preset coming out of the Repro. We use the cutoff. Well, there are some effects on it as well, but one of the more important effects here is the
crystallizer.
The crystallizer, yes. It's from Sound Toys, and it makes the delay. It makes it reversed. I can just also.
Yeah.
This sounds weird.
Yeah. It just adds a nice character to your pads, and it makes it more stereo. But just the UE, this synthesizer just has this really nice old analog feel to it, even though, we don't really use any outboard gear.
Oh.
So we try to sometimes create that feel, but UE is really good at helping us with that.
Second part is just a simple saw wave from the Serum.
Yeah, just put some unison on there.
This is the unison.
Yeah, and then if you put some unison on there,
you can hear it like it's spreading more and more.
But it's a really nice tool to make your strings become real big. I mean, it has that dead mouse feel to it. He uses soft strings all the time.
You can see it in the spectrum. You can see it here if I just turn up the. It's already pretty wide.
That's because of the.
You see it change. It's spreading more and more.
And becomes nice.
Yeah.
It is also because of the ping pong and the crystallizer.
Yeah.
Can you turn everything off? How does it sound? And how does it look on the imager?
Pretty right. Because there are like 3.
Yeah.
Now it's just 1.
Yeah.
Looks nice. I can just watch this all day.
This chord progression we go into in the breakdown, I think it was inspired by Patrick Watson, this Canadian singer. Like one of his tunes starts with this chord progression and we were like, oh, this is interesting. So we tried to do something like it and it turned out to be totally different. I mean, both of us are not musically schooled. We have basically no idea what we're doing. No. But we hear that it's something, it's off key or on key. And then of course, you know, your music theory kind of know which keys you can play if you play E minor, if you're an E minor tune. So, but most of it is just trial and error, or just hear like, oh, want to play something and then play something and then alter it again in your MIDI keyboard.
Yeah, and, well, we also like to use the piano first, so it always have this natural feeling and vibe, and then change it afterwards into a synthesizer or whatever. And that's I think we did that as well on this track.
Yeah.
We started with a piano.
You have to take off all the plugins.
Yeah. The gentleman from the Native Instruments. These are just a little bit weird. It's a weird chord combination.
Yeah.
So that's what's interesting.
But yeah, we kind of like the same kind of chord progressions. Not too cheesy, not too melancholic, I think. Quite uplifting, but not too happy. Yeah, I don't know. It's just a matter of taste, I think. It's not really a matter of skill. It's more about what we like and what we don't like. And we're quite close to what we like. It would be weird if he wants to make a really happy music all the time and I'm wants to make sad music. You have to find someone that you're at the same kind of interest in.
And usually we just go out and just play whatever.
Yeah.
And see what happens.
Yeah. But we do tend to start tunes quite a lot with a chord progression because it sets the whole atmosphere or the whole vibe of a track.
Yeah.
And I can't really remember if it was we started with these chords or we started with the vocal. It doesn't really matter. In the end, it's about the result. But yeah, chord progressions do really characterize your whole tune. But yeah.
This is the piano without any like plugin on it, and we use some plugins on it to make it more dreamy and vibey.
It almost doesn't sound like a piano anymore.
No, I think it's the sidechain. It's the slow sidechain.
Yeah, half a
time.
bar.
And for the low end, we use like a massive. And this particular preset is sounding really analog. It just doesn't sound like if it's coming from a massive, but it does. And together, you get this vibe.
Yeah, we like to layer like really synthetic sounds and analog at the same time, so you get a different character. I like the word character.
Character.
And then you add the sub bass to give it more body. And
This
then
is without.
Yeah, and then just before the drop, take it out so the drop has more impact.
Yeah, you can see that. So every synth, all the 4 channels go to one group channel, and you can see right before the drop. You can see that we are cutting out low end. It's right down right here. So the drop makes more, the impact is better when you drop.
Yeah, and like going from a chord progression back to, because the bass line plays a different melody, we just decided to maintain that one final E chord. So the transition going from the E to the E drop makes sense. If we would drop directly from the chord progression to the bass line, it probably sounds strange.
So this was part 1. If you want to see more, just stay with us and you can see what we have to offer in part 2.